The Bronze Age Pervert is a writer, classical scholar and political scientist with a PhD from Yale who went rogue and anonymous. He travels the world, posting ass pictures of his favorite prosties and the Michelin-starred dishes he eats atop skyscrapers in lonely Blade Runner-like Asian cities, as well as audio clips of himself drunk on Caribbean islands reciting Nietzsche. Bep is a larger-than-life figure who has written bestsellers on philosophy and lifestyle, and to whom many young, intelligent people listen. Every fortnight, he posts a radio show monologue. Today, we listen to him complain about the Christian takeover of the Trump administration, how they leap at every opportunity, such as Charlie Kirk's murder, to undermine what could have been a healthy, aggressive response to left-wing terrorism.
This #1 Calypso show broadcast from Barbados. I tell you, though, I disappoint in much of what Trump doing this week. The pathetic response from the conservative pundits and the heads of the Department of Justice, the vapid MILF, Pam Bondi, who should be doing bang boss gangbangs. She should not be in government. She blamed it on nihilism, and she called for the government, if you can believe this, to target nihilism and irony, I suppose. Memes are to blame. Internet memes, the danger of internet pornography in turning people into assassins, if you can believe that is their priority. It's being used to short-circuit a rational or healthy reaction to leftist terrorism. The religious core of the activist GOP has just decided to wait out Trump. Nothing's changed since 2014 or even 2004. Drones guided by trannies at the center in Tampa.
Kate agrees with Bep wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think there is this weakness, this insincerity in this right-wing response to Charlie Kirk's murder and pointing at postmodernism, irony, nihilism, which is then a veiled attempt at censorship. I think the real thing at stake is weirdness. The thing that evokes the pearl clutching from the right and that the left was once maybe famous for but has completely abandoned. So art and like a radical openness.
That's why I believe in the necessity to create progressive Christian art. You want to accelerate the weirdness of the man hanging from the cross. You want to show the rotting corpse, the stink. And I think Mel Gibson in a way is doing that in these films. But the problem with these films is that they're sort of like sci-fi or historical. They're safe within the boundaries of a Hollywood film. But you need sort of Brechtian, Realtheater, Christian interventions, where people come into contact with the weirdness of Christianity and the disgrace and the shame in being hung on a cross, rotting for everybody to see in public. The actual meaning of this reversal in the way that it has originated. You really have to go back to the source of the weirdness of Christianity. So what I'm saying is Lutheran in the sense that I believe that people have to look inside themselves for what this cross-hanging sport of Christianity actually means. We have to make our hands dirty and go in there and use these Christian symbols.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
And like Nietzsche said, we have to learn how to huichelen. How do you say this in English?
Disingenuous. We have to learn to be disingenuous.
Nothing seems more rare to me today than genuine hypocrisy. I strongly suspect that this plant can't stand the gentle air of our culture. Hypocrisy belongs to the ages of strong faith, when even if you were forced to display a different faith, you didn't let go of the faith you had. So even though the entire character of Bep, and also my character in many ways, is entirely built on this peasant character. He also uses the word peasant in his podcast. I'm just an Eastern European peasant.
I refuse to pronounce it correctly because I am Soviet bloc peasant.
But we do have to harness some sort of higher Catholic kind of like ruler morality pretending, hypocrisy, if we want to win this game. So that will be my intuition. And to be honest, actually, I think you wouldn't even be an enemy of the Christian right. That's the strange thing. Because they also have a problem. And this is what Bep describes. They are this Christian grassroots sort of cult that is now trying to take over Trump's New York glamour energy. But they don't have the base for it. If you would be able to transform these Christian values into a broader societal progressive movement where also other people can find themselves in, truly make Christian this explorative thing again, where truth-seeking is very broad. You can be truth-seeking in the sense that you want to ask yourself if the resurrection of Christ is a miracle that truly happened. You can become very metaphysical about it. But you can also be very explorative into what the meaning is of Christianity. I think that will be healthy, I think, for society. And it would and I think it would be very difficult for woke and Marxism and intersectionalism to tap into that and to steal it from you. It will be a very good weapon against that. Because in a way, woke is of course a branch of Christianity, but if it lacks one thing, it's psychological depth and flexibility. And that's what you have to battle them with. But I would also say that this sort of fascist Miller speeches and this crazy sort of influencer Erika Kirk fucked upness that you feel should be part of the fun. It should be sort of dragged into it, tempted by it.
The exact thing that they themselves are now trying to sort of turn into a polished, outwardly stance. You would want to integrate the sort of laughter that you feel at that when you are looking at it as an audience, even if you, are fully sort of with them on this kind of vengeful war against leftism. But you would like them to be able to integrate that laughter into what they are doing, because otherwise it's self-defeating.
And why would you say, maybe you feel I'm going in circles, but I still think we didn't make that clear. Why do you think it's self-defeating? Why do you think it's self-defeating?
Because then I think it's true. Then in that case, Bep is right that this sort of old-fashioned Christianity, the LARPing Christianity, will win within this political circle, but it won't be convincing enough for everyone to vote for that. It's not the page that the rest of America is on.
And you might fall prey to this deterministic, opportunistic Christianity of Silicon Valley, which both gambles on woke and Christianity.
Yeah, but I think even they will then also suffer from this conservative lack of humor. Well, maybe I'm going to take it back to your question. Why does the GOP need this laughter, like this self-reflective laughter? And that is, I think, that they appeal to some people who, in the face of this kind of existential crisis amongst young people, where both economically but also intellectually, artistically, the future is bleak, who then fall or who choose to bury their passions and to embrace Christianity as the religion of burying one's passions, and to become like the cornerstone of society, to form a family and so on. This is what you see amongst the Charlie Kirk people. But woke itself is also a crisis, is also a symptom of the crisis of passion. And the woke people are the people who are not burying their passions, but they are turning it into aggression. This is what Bab also describes, these perfectly good kids from good families frothing at the mouths. And then you find that there's also some, a financial support for enacting this violence in a very sort of bland and boring and holier than thou way. So passion becomes boring aggression. But if at the root of all of this is this crisis of passion, that means that it is exactly this weirdness, the weirdness of passion, that could be bolstered in favor of one of the sides. And in any case, I'm not even in favor of it being bolstered in favor of one of the sides, but I'm in favor of it being fueled at all, because both sides have decided in their own ways that this is the thing that is negligible, or that should be abandoned, unimportant. It's in the way of progression.
And passion gets weird, right?
Passion obviously sometimes comes out weird, especially if it's not digested into aggression or the burying of it, which is Christianity. Especially if it's sublimated, it can get very weird. I mean, look at the moments where Christianity becomes very secular.
Kate refers to the Catholic Church using increasingly worldly means to convey the transcendent during the Counter-Reformation, doubling down on grandeur and art in response to the Reformation.
The Counter-Reformation, where you have Bernini Theresia. This is very weird. It's not... I mean, someone like Roger Scruton, the conservative philosopher, will point at Bernini and say, oh, how come we don't have this kind of art anymore? We only have postmodern weirdness. And then completely fails to see the super weirdness of this passionate Theresia overcome by some Christian submission, erotic, like being stabbed in the heart by an angel with a golden arrow.
And having an orgasm.
And having an orgasm. And her being very young and beautiful. And has nothing to do with the original Saint Theresia, who was also very weird.
Teresa of Avila, nun and writer of the Interior Castle, describes her mystical marriage to God, leaving her body trembling, pierced by divine love, overwhelmed by delicious pain.
Yes, there's plenty of passionate weirdness within Christianity, and there is I think it would be virtuous to bring that out in the form of art, rather than in the kind of stuff that will start seeping out on the sides, to use a Nietzschean way of describing it, when one is only burying one's passions, which is what you see. I mean, the moments of hypocrisy that are already contorting Erika Kirk's face when she doesn't know whether she has to cringe when she is standing next to Trump, or whether she should look elated or full of sorrow. These are like very painful, heart-wrenching moments of her soul to look at, which look like lying, but which would not look like lying if one actually has a culture of expressing these contradictory feelings. And a culture of contradictory feelings is art. That's what art is. Artifice for realness.